Hello, welcome to Griffo's Retro Gaming, where today I'm doing a follow-up video of my last video, which was about myself purchasing Pokemon Stadium 2 for the N64 from CEX Online. Now, the reason I did purchase it online was because I'd seen in a lot of gaming groups on Facebook that people had been buying games that are described as mint condition from CEX, and then when the games arrive they're substandard, let's put it that way, and obviously the people aren't very happy about this. So I got myself thinking, let's give it a go. You know, I need Pokemon Stadium 2. I did at the time, and it was described as mint. There was only one in the company. It was down south in Staines, I believe, so I had to buy it online anyway. I mean, what could go wrong? It was described as mint. It would have to come to my house in mint condition, because that's how they sell it. Unfortunately, it didn't. It came anything but mint. And if you watch my last video, you'll see the disappointment in my little face. It was heartbreaking, actually. CEX have a grading system of games. They have unboxed, boxed and mint, as I covered in my last video. Now, I've looked on CEX's website. At the time of filming, I couldn't find anything that said or gave a definition of mint for the games. You can find an explanation of the grading on mobile phones, cameras, even games consoles, but not on games. I don't quite know why that is, because you're giving a grading. All I can put it down to is that games for the older Nintendo systems came in cardboard boxes, whereas a lot of the newer systems and Mega Drive, Master System back in the day were plastic boxes, and they were a bit more robust than a cardboard box, obviously. So it's hard to give an accurate grading system for such a diverse range of games, I guess. So that's what I'm thinking. But that doesn't excuse their behaviour. So, on the website, like I say, I couldn't find a definition of mint. But they say that this Pokemon Stadium 2 was in mint condition. So, what do I go by? I have nothing from their website to tell me the condition other than the word mint. So I'm going to go by the dictionary, the Collins Dictionary. That'll give me a good definition, or the correct definition, of what mint should be. And I've looked it up. I've got the laptop in front of me, sorry. So I've looked it up, and Collins described mint as perfect condition, as if new. So I would have to go by that, because they have no explanation of how they are selling mint games. So with that in mind, you'd have to assume that a mint condition game would come mint. And if it doesn't, that to me comes under Trade Descriptions Act. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a CEX hater. I actually like the place. I go in and buy Xbox original games because I collect for that system too. They're pretty cheap, easy to get hold of. If there is a problem, I can always return it. But what I'm wanting is CEX just to sharpen up the practices a bit, or a lot. So we've seen a lot about the reprinting of covers for certain games, and that's a scandal in itself, which I won't go into because that's been covered so many times. For me, this is a scandal just as big. So going back to my game, I was rather annoyed by how it came. You can see the pictures in the last video. But the thing what annoyed me the most about it was the fact that it had been glued back together. Now, it's a different glue to what Nintendo boxes use, and it was not clean or flush, put it that way. So if you're describing something as mint, if something has been glued back together, that's restoration. It's not as new as Collins describe it, and it's not perfect condition, is it? So I sent an email to CEX to voice my opinion, and I was quite respectful, considering I waited 2 weeks before I sent it. Reason being is because I wanted to put a bit of pressure on them. I wanted to put them in a bit of an awkward situation, because if I'd have done this the day that I received it, they would have just said, send it back, we'll give you your money back. Well, that's not really what I wanted. Not when there was only one left in the company. I hinted in the email that I'd have been quite happy with the partial refund, because if this game had come to me and I'd have paid 60 quid for it, I wouldn't have argued, to be fair. But when you're paying the premium price of £100, it's not good enough. So I would have quite happily met them in the middle. I would have happily taken a voucher off them so I could have purchased more from them. I wasn't asking for cash back, although that's what they should do in normal circumstances. I did actually pay with vouchers, or the large bulk of it, so I would have probably got vouchers back anyway. But going to the email that I received back off them after I hinted that I wanted a partial refund and that I wasn't happy about the condition it arrived in. The first paragraph is obviously the apology, so I'm sorry to hear about the game you received. You'd expect that. Empty apology for me. All emails from customer services start off like that. The next paragraph says, we do a quality check of the items before we send them to customers. However, I am sorry that this was overlooked in your instance. We have passed feedback to the relevant store so that such instances can be avoided in the future. The quality check every item before they send them to customers. Now, I don't believe that for 1 minute. I've seen online there was someone that sent a picture of I can't remember what game it was, but it was for the original Xbox, and it had a black and white printed cover. Yeah, that's some quality checking. I don't know if it was a dog that can only see in black and white that quality checked that, but that was horrendous. Anyway, so I'll keep it to my game, and it's got some age to it. It's got a dent in the box, which I touched upon in the last video. I believe that happened in transit, so that possibly didn't happen before it got shipped, so it would have looked okay. The instructions have got a slight tear and a crease in them, however, and the tray that the cartridge sits in is all crushed. So that would suggest to me that it's not of the new perfect condition, as if new definition of mint condition. The next part of it is about what I said. They didn't have another game in stock for me to swap. The next part of the email is probably the most disappointing. It's the conclusion to the email as such. And it's what I was expecting, it's what I didn't want, and I'll explain why in a minute. But what they said was, if I was to send the item back to them online or through the store, as per their returns policy, they would give me a full refund. Well, in summary, what do I think? I think CEX are probably playing the percentage game. I think that for every person that sends one of these back, 2 or 3 will probably just keep it because they can't be bothered to go back to the store to return it or sort out a delivery, possibly have to stay in, whatever. So one other theory could be that head office don't quite know what's going on in the stores. I am aware that a lot of stores are franchises, so maybe the communication with the head office isn't there with the stores. And that could lead to, with the pressure of selling, that could lead to stores and employees, possibly, this is just a theory, I'm not saying that this is what they do, because I've worked in retail and I've known that some people buckle under the pressure and they look for ways around the pressure to try and get the sales, and this could be one of them. Because there's no accurate description on what's mint, maybe people are bending that somewhat and giving something that's in pretty good condition but not mint and putting it under the mint category to get another 40 quid out of people. It is a reasonable explanation, to be fair. My advice to people when buying from CEX is to be very cautious. I think that if possible, and where possible, if you know that there's an item that you want in a store, my advice would be to go and visit that store if possible. If not, do you know anybody who works in the store? Do you know anybody in the city where the store is? So if there's something in one of the Sheffield stores, do I know someone in Sheffield that can go and check it out for me? Another bit of advice would be to maybe get in touch with the customer services. CEX stores don't have numbers to the stores for the general public, so it might be worth getting in touch with customer services to see if they can help you with a certain product that's in the store. Maybe send some pictures, whatever. So that would be my advice when purchasing from CEX. I will also say that with the email saying that I can have a full refund, the thing what upset me the most about it was that it just felt like they were sweeping the whole situation under the mat. That they didn't quite take my accusation seriously enough. They was just, don't worry about it, mate, have your money back and we'll say no more about it. Well, no, CEX, we will, and we'll carry on talking about it because people are getting ripped off. We all know that this isn't worth £100, it's worth £60. So with you selling it as mint, you're squeezing another £40 out of people on this particular game, and that is wrong. How many more games are you doing this on? We've already seen the reprinted covers that you're making money on, and surely that's got to be against the law. It has to be. I know it's against copyright law to begin with, but again, you're selling something that's not as described. So yeah, we're not going to drop this. All the other YouTubers aren't going to drop this. We're going to keep going until you iron out these practices. I'm not looking for you to close stores. I'm not looking for you to get into a whole world of trouble. I want you to sort your practices out so that you've got a good store again. Well, that's the end of my my Pokemon Stadium 2 adventure. I would like to thank everyone for watching this and watching the last video. If you haven't seen the last video, please give it a watch. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Just to see my face drop, which was 100% natural, trust me. I hadn't opened a parcel until that video, so the whole disappointment was 100% real.